Welcome everyone to the UN75 dialogue featuring the Buddy Weiser Foundation. Hi, our whole team is here today from Hong Kong. Um, First of all, congratulations to the 75th year anniversary of United Nations. You have come a very long way. But you may understand why, as youth, clearly not me, I'm speaking on behalf of the young ladies who will be joining us later on this webinar, why it is so important that they get to lead as well as create impact for the next generation. Without further ado, I would love to introduce Ms. Alison Carless, who is the founder of Buddy Weiser Foundation. So, Alison, quickly, why did you start this project to begin with? I mean, you have so many other things you could do with your life. Why Buddy Weiser?
I was chosen to be the representative of Hong Kong at the Best Buddies Leadership Conference. Best Buddies is a nonprofit organization that aims to help people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So during this conference, I felt very inspired because we learned more about promoting inclusiveness and equality in our society. And I had this thought that, well, actually, students from privileged families usually go to tutorial centers for individualized help. However, this is an opportunity that the underprivileged children in Hong Kong do not have. So therefore, I wanted to start this project to help these underprivileged children. And I hope that through this project, we could teach them learning techniques so they could study more productively, as well as give them some guidance in terms of their schoolwork.
All right, thank you for that, Alison. So the next question is, that's a pretty big task, right? That's sometimes someone might say that it's too much, you try to bite off too much to chew, right? So how did you start planning this initiative, right? Like, where did you begin?
I planned this initiative with the help of Kenneth and Mike. And throughout this planning, we not only prepared the curriculum, such as the PowerPoints that we used for the study skills we were going to teach our students, but also my team and I had to make some promotional leaflets for when we were recruiting our students. And we also created a website, buddywiser.org, where we also posted details about our project. And before we started lessons with the students, I trained and briefed my team of mentors, including Vivian, Chloe, and Hannah. And we had some sessions where we discussed possible teaching methods we would use during the program.
Fantastic.
It's great. The hardest part is always implementation. I mean, how did you find these wonderful teammates of yours, and how did you get about implementing this amazing initiative?
The other mentors are my friends who study at DGS, and they all were very interested in joining this program because they thought it was very meaningful. As for our students, they actually signed up through Google Forms, or they were directly approached in Sham Shui Po. And I actually also contacted a social worker friend of mine, where we introduced our program to some underprivileged families, and there were also a few students that enrolled through that platform. And before having lessons with the students, I had a call with all of the parents to make sure I knew the educational needs of every single child, as well as their personalities, to facilitate a better pairing of the mentor and the student. Course was conducted by online through Zoom, and we also had some real life lessons for some of the students. And at the end of the lessons, we had the students filling in some surveys to let us know what they thought about the teaching, the curriculum, and the logistics, so that we can further enhance our course. And at the end of the summer, we had a graduation ceremony where we concluded the whole summer project and had a chat with the students.
Hey, where was my invite to the graduation party? Not fair. But, okay, I'm just going to ask the audience here to just remember that Alison is not even 18 years old. Is that correct, Alison?
Yeah, I'm only 16.
So think about what you did when you were 16 years old. Probably I was playing video games, something like that. But anyways, Mike, on to you.
All right, Allison. So with your initiative, how did you achieve the UN SDGs? Which ones were important to you and how did you focus on those?
So our initiative aims to achieve 3 UN SDGs, namely no poverty, quality education, and reduced inequalities. So through this project, we hope that we can offer sustainable learning and quality education to underprivileged children. We can actually promote a more inclusive society and reduce the wealth disparity in Hong Kong.
Your heart is definitely in the right place, Allison.
Thank you.
Well, I think it's about time you let the other two young ladies on this call to speak also a little bit. Is that cool, Alison?
Yeah, sure.
Great. Well, why don't I, meeny, eeny, miny, mo, start with Chloe? Hi, Chloe. Welcome to our UN75 Buddy Wiser conversation. So, everything Alison described so far is great, but come on, let's be honest. There must have been some itsy bitsy challenges, right? Because life cannot always be so rosy. So, can you elaborate some of the challenges you encountered with the team?
Well, my challenges were more about the lessons themselves than like any administrative work. For example, one of my students needed a hearing aid, which might not be very sensitive to noise coming from a device. And also, some students had a bad Wi-Fi connection, and we kept popping in and out of the Zoom meetings, which really disrupted the lesson. So we decided to conduct face-to-face lessons mainly. And also there were some students that were very shy and they didn't really speak a lot. So I tried to use the chat box function to encourage them to speak more and ask questions. And also when teaching some ethnic minority students, such as an Indian student, Reshma, I had to translate the materials from her textbook to English for her to understand.
That's very innovative of you, Chloe.
Can I elaborate more on what Chloe said?
Please, Allison.
One of the challenges during the earlier stages of this project was definitely recruiting students. So we actually went to Sham Shui Po, which is one of the poorer areas in Hong Kong. And we tried to approach some people nearby this wet market. And we actually showed them our promotional leaflet and tried to convince them to join our project. However, they seemed very skeptical and weren't very interested. I had to try and persevere, and I tried walking around a bit more, and I eventually stopped at the bottom of this Tong Lao building where we actually waited, and then there was this lady who was going back home, and she somehow had a son, and she was very interested in our project, and then her son later on became our first student in this project.
That's really a great story, and a lot of our success sometimes, owes to a little bit of luck, right? And we look around and there's all sorts of people and we're giving out something for free. But they just don't feel like taking it at the time, right? And I'm sure they didn't regret, having met you. Excellent. So, Kenneth, would you like to add to that?
I was just thinking, like, of course, Vivian will come to you very soon. Don't worry. But Alison, even as the most successful entrepreneurs say, if you don't meet challenges, you'll never grow. And I'm honestly very proud of you in the sense you persevered, because if I saw you on the streets stuffing a pamphlet about education in my face, I will probably not think you're legitimate as well. So,
all right. So the next question here is, we're looking for the most memorable moment you guys had this summer. And in this case, I'll give Vivian a chance to speak first, and we'll go Chloe and Allison. So Vivian, most memorable moment this summer?
So for me, one of the most memorable moments during the project was successfully encouraging a student who initially had little to no motivation to learn to gradually being more enthusiastic in lessons and actively answering my questions. So seeing her improvements and seeing her actually put in effort to understand the materials I taught and putting the study techniques and skills I taught into use gave me quite a sense of achievement as well. So that was actually quite memorable for me. So, and also I developed close buddy-like bond with my students, which was quite memorable for me too. So yeah,
Awesome.
I actually
First thing,
noticed the pleasure of helping those in need after the project.
sorry, the first thing that you said, really struck a nerve. I think helping someone find motivation, right? I think that's incredibly powerful, right? Because you basically empower that person to be more able in their own world, right? I mean, sometimes a lot of times it is just a matter of effort, right? Like at this age, I think that there's this, welcome back, Kenneth. I think at this age, there's this, this misconception, right? That, that the smarter you are at school, the better off you're going to be, right? But really in life, it's all about how hard you work, right? So to help a kid find their own motivation, I think you should be really proud of that. And Alison, I suggest that this is something that you girls kind of think about in terms of, building into the next round of Buddy Wiser. I mean, trying to think about how to target that, sort of grow people's confidence, have a module in there for that. Thanks for that, Vivian. Welcome back, Kenneth. All right, so we're on to Chloe. Memorable moment. Have at it, Chloe.
Well, being a shy person myself, I never understood why people always wanted me to speak up until I became a mentor to a shy student. And you will not understand the awkwardness of talking to a wall. And a memorable moment for me was basically gradually coaxing the student to speak up, and hearing her genuinely laugh for the first time was a huge breakthrough. And also during the graduation ceremony, seeing the happy faces of all the students we taught, it made me truly realize the joys of helping people in need. And I would definitely do something like this in the future.
Well,
Fantastic. Go for it, Kenneth.
Well, it's just again, remember, Alison, Vivian, Chloe, you're all, what, 15, 16? So you're teaching kids, what, 12, 10, right? And, a lot of people fall in love with an educator because they love that moment of passing on their knowledge. And Alison, for you, I mean, I'm sure you're very proud, not only of what you have done, you're proud of the entire team coming together, but I'm sure your parents are very proud of you. If you're gonna, be able to just narrow it down to one moment where you think everything comes together to show off your pride, what would that be?
I think probably the thing that I'm most proud of is that while we only had 4 mentors, our project could really make a positive impact. We actually had a lot of parents telling us that their children's academic progress was falling behind because of the coronavirus, and that they hadn't really received much online lesson support during the school suspension period. So I felt very grateful when these parents were telling me how happy they were that we had such a program to help them. And I felt like although our program seems small scale, I was very pleasantly surprised to know that our help actually meant a lot to these underprivileged families, and the change that we were able to bring about through Buddy Wiser made me very proud.
Well, ultimately, I think just remember always to celebrate your victories, because coronavirus has been hard on everyone's mental health, physical health, and sometimes it just takes, again, Buddy Wiser to lift each other's spirits up, right? So again, congratulations on all the great work you have done. Mike, would you like the honor to, proceed to the last mile of this amazing panel.
So Alison, now we've got a really big picture, right? You've said that, it's, you have had more than no impact, right? Like you feel like the small impact that you four have had, well, fourth member's not here today, is meaningful, right? And all those kids are going to have, a leg up, right, in the next sort of stage in their education. So what do you see as the future of Buddy Wiser? I mean, when you start to think about scale, I mean, what would you like this to grow into? Right? What do you see as the future?
So firstly, we're planning on further enhancing our course with the feedback we've received from the students and the mentors. In addition, we also hope that we can recruit a few more students and mentors and aspire for this project to be able to grow even more and to continue creating change for underprivileged families.
I'd like to add in something too. So on top of that, in order for our project to be more sustainable, so we plan to actually continue following up on the academic progress of the current students by having 1 to 2 lessons per month with them, and also through answering their questions concerning their schoolwork.
Excellent. I think sustainability is, a really important concept, right? Because you guys, what are you girls going to run out of, right? If you want to teach as many kids as you can, you run out of time. Yeah. And so what you have here is you're going to have to find a way to sort of supply this, right? And that's part of the creativity of growing to the next step, right? Of not just creating a service that helps people, but something that is an ecosystem, right? Where, you have people that are willing to join, right? They're just as enthusiastic about this as you girls, right? And if you just find those people, then all of a sudden you have, all this man and woman power, so to speak, right? To actually teach these kids, right? Because that's what you need. That's the motor of Buddy Wiser. And I'm really glad that all you three are steering it. I think the fourth one of you, but that you're steering it. I think that your hearts are in the right place, and you're starting early. And I have no idea where you guys are going to be in, down the road. But I'm sure it's going to be, it's going to be a mountain that you guys build by the time it's done. Yeah.
And
Kenneth?
last but not least, don't forget, your team has earned your own SDG domain in Act for SDGs. So make sure during Global Goals Week to interact with other members. I mean, who knows how many other mentoring initiatives there are? I don't know, but when September 18th comes along, definitely use that week to for Chloe, Vivian, and Alison, of course, to interact with global youth, also passionate about education in your other SDGs. So again, Mike and I cannot be more proud that after 10, 12 weeks of hard work, you become one of the very few Hong Kong teams that officially will be presenting your project virtually, at least, at the UN this year. So job well done.
Thank you.
Congratulations, girls.
Okay.
Well done.